You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron. Now here's your host, Ethan Haristadoulou.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Greeks Gridiron, and a happy Sunday to you all. Football is underway as I'm recording this right smack in the middle of Vikings and Browns as they go through halftime. Everyone's waiting to see what's going on with Carson Wentz and if he makes a return. So for those of you that are seeing this, I recorded this during halftime. That being said, we have one more game we need to predict this week, and that is going to be the Monday Night Football matchup. So, as we always do on the earlier portions of Sundays, we take a look at that Monday Night Football game between the Chiefs and Jaguars. So, comment down below. Let me hear from you, your thoughts, your opinions on the game. Has Kansas City turned it around? Is Jacksonville legit? Let me hear from you, your thoughts on this matchup, who's going to come out victorious, and why. That being said, let's dive in and discuss. Like I just kind of alluded to, I think the big question everyone has, what we saw from Kansas City last week against Baltimore, was that just a matter of a really battered and injured Baltimore defense, or was that Kansas City getting Xavier Worthy back and the offense finally opening up to what it was supposed to look like all the way back in week number 1 when Xavier Worthy got knocked out of the game? I believe it was like 3 offensive plays in for Kansas City, colliding with Travis Kelce. When you look at the numbers and just how important Xavier Worthy appears to be for this offense this season, in his first game back coming off that injury, 121 total yards, and the effect it had for not only himself, but also for Mahomes, for the rest of the offense to find success. Mahomes went for 270 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, completed nearly 68% of his passes. It was a really clean game for Kansas City offensively. That being said, you're going up against Jacksonville, and why I mention clean is because Jacksonville's defense has forced a ton of turnovers to this point in the season, 13 to be exact. That is the most in the NFL right now. They are a turnover machine, and they will take an opportunity when it presents itself. For Kansas City, they've been very good at protecting the football, even with all the struggles their offenses have felt. I believe it is just one singular turnover so far this season, and that's it. Nothing else, nothing to worry about. So very interesting matchup here where you have a defense hungry to make a takeaway and an offense that, for the most part, this season has been perfect in terms of taking care of the football. I'll be really interested in seeing what the effect Xavier Worthy has up against that defense in Jacksonville and just how well this offense is going to be able to operate. On the flip side of things, for Jacksonville's offense, they have some stiff competition going up against Kansas City this week. Kansas City's defense, for what it's worth, with all the struggles that they've dealt with, has been a quiet story, as they've actually been a pretty good unit so far this season. 19 points per game allowed this year, 10 sacks, 11th in pressure rate according to Next Gen Stats. The teams against them have found some success running the football, but overall, Kansas City's defense has been pretty good. And honestly, if the offense is moving a little bit more consistently, I expect those numbers to move in a positive direction for them. And I do think that going into this game, at the very least, yes, Trevor Lawrence, yes, Brian Thomas Jr., got to keep trying to get them to get the football in his hands and make something happen. Same thing with Travis Hunter. I get it, but it's the running backs, Travis Etienne, and how good he has looked in spurts this season. I really want to see them get after it and challenge that run defense that, like I said, with Kansas City, has been about so-so. So it depends on the game. It depends on who they're facing, but it's been about so-so. 127 yards per game allowed on the ground, but when you look at Jacksonville right now, 144 yards per game is good for 4th best in the league. They're averaging 5 yards per rush attempt, and on top of that, they're sitting at 100 rushing yards over expected, and they have one of the lowest run-stuffed rates in the NFL. Teams are not really stopping them at the line of scrimmage or behind. They're making big plays, and a lot of that has to do with Travis Etienne and how good he has looked this season. So I think for Jacksonville's sake going into this game, if they want to control the ball and prevent whatever it was we saw from Kansas City last week, which was a bit of an explosion for that offense, if you want to make sure that that doesn't happen to you, keep the ball out of Mahomes' hand, pound the rock, limit the opportunities for a mistake from Trevor Lawrence, because we have seen he has thrown some tough interceptions this season. He has not been perfect. Far from it. In fact, even with a Brian Thomas Jr., even with the addition of Travis Hunter this offseason, adding him into the offense as well, you want to just try to take care of the football because, again, Kansas City's defense, good unit, quietly good. Maybe don't have the amount of takeaways that Jacksonville does, but they will be opportunistic if presented. And, again, Trevor Lawrence has made his mistakes. All that being said, one last thing I do really have some interest in. As of me recording this right now, I have not seen a confirmation on it yet. I will be interested in seeing if Trayvon Walker plays in this game. We all know the situation with Kansas City right now and their offensive tackles. You have a rookie on one side, Jawan Taylor on the other side. I will say this. Without Trayvon Walker, it makes me really like the Chiefs a lot more because that pressure just won't be as aggressive for Mahomes to have to deal with. If Trayvon Walker's there, though, even with a giant club in hand, because he's going to have that massive cast on, his presence on the field alone warrants extra attention from whatever side he's going on. And obviously, opposite of him will be Josh Hines-Allen. You want those two running after the quarterback in tandem together. You do not want to be without him. So I'll be very curious. He's coming off that wrist surgery. He's day to day, and it seems like he's a literal game time decision. So I don't think we will know the actual result of that until Monday night. But as it sounds right now, the possibility of him playing is very real. So that would be huge for that Jacksonville defense if he is available for them. That being said, as far as a winner goes, this one's a little bit of a tough one because Kansas City has not been perfect. Yes, last week was great. It was good to see Xavier Worthy back in the fold for them, and it leaves you wondering what this Chiefs offense could look like as he starts to get back into form, and of course when Rashee Rice joins a couple of weeks down the road as well. But right now, as it stands, it feels like Kansas City might be in a little bit of a bounce back offensively, which again, in turn, I think is going to help out this defense. On the flip side, I look at Jacksonville, and they have just had some really tough, ugly, grindy wins. Their loss against Cincinnati really stings to me. I just don't really understand how they came away with a loss like that when you were sitting in an opportunity where Jake Browning is throwing picks all over the place and your offense could just not get out of its own way. And the offense has been kind of like that for a vast majority of this season. Minus the Carolina Panthers game, there's not really a ton that I've been like overly impressed with watching the Jacksonville Jaguars play on offense this season. And going up against this Chiefs defense, I think is just going to be another one of those games where it might not be horrendous. It's not going to be pretty, though. It's going to be another one of those like grindy affair types of things. And if I had to imagine, again, Kansas City hasn't been perfect offensively. I think the contest is a little bit tighter than maybe some would imagine, depending on how you feel about either one of these teams. I think it's a little bit close, but I ultimately do think I'm leaning with Chiefs going into Jacksonville to take down the Jaguars. As far as the score is concerned, good defensive play in this one could keep the numbers a little bit lower. I like something along the lines of like a 24-21 affair between Jacksonville and Kansas City. It's, again, a little bit of a slugfest. Defenses are definitely preventing any like real explosive offensive plays, but I do think the teams can still find their way to get into the end zone, get on the board. So like 24-21, somewhere within that ballpark. But let me know what you think in that comment section down below. Thoughts on the game, who's going to come out on top and why. But as always, if you made it to the end, I greatly appreciate it, and I will see you all on Tuesday to reflect on this week's games. We'll rank everybody from worst to first through the tier list, but until then, I will see you next time.